How we doing? How we doing?
Dude, great, man.
Yeah.
Fucking real good.
Times.
Man, long time, man. Thanks for having us, dude.
Absolutely, man.
This is crazy.
It's been a while. How long has it been?
Dude,
When was the last time you were in Chicago?
last time I was in Chicago and saw you at least like 3 years.
Right.
But I come back and forth kind of semi-frequently, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But-
half and half, you little West Coast snowbird.
Yeah, exactly. Got to see the fam and stuff, trying to make more time for that.
Man, just trying to roll it back here, like our humble beginnings.
Yeah, yep.
When was the first time we hung out?
Man, well, we went to high school together, but we didn't really like know each other. You kind of knew Jack, and then Jack was like, my boy Rob and I are DJ, and he's got like a spot right next to your crib. Like, let's go cook up there.
That's right.
So-
yeah, we were practically neighbors.
Yeah, we lived like 3 minutes from each other or something. We got Panda Express, and then just started cooking up the most fire hip hop you could imagine.
How's it been, that transition to LA, starting this EP that you just dropped?
Transitioning to LA was definitely a lot. It's like a culture shock for sure, but if you're in the music world, it's the place where you could definitely like learn the most, just getting the most exposure from people from all over, you know, so it's kind of like a little concentrated way to compress a lot of knowledge into a small amount of time, you know what I mean? So
Right.
you get out there, you tread water for a while, you kind of like see where you're at, you learn from those you can, and then to touch on the EP, that's kind of where that started. It's just like I was making a lot of music, learning from a lot of different guys. I've worked with Wallace Lane, a production duo, they had all these studios, so we'd always just be in these rooms with different people, kind of seeing different creative processes, and then taking that back and trying to figure out your own. And then eventually you find something where you're like, oh, this sounds kind of cool. Like, this kind of feels natural to me. Because sometimes when I make music, I'm just like, what do I talk about? Like, at first, when we were making music, I was like in a fraternity in college. So it's like frat rap, kind of like trying to think what would get like a crowd of college kids hyped. And then you kind of reflect on that. It's like, is that really me? And it's like, let me express something that's vulnerable. Maybe makes me kind of embarrassed, like about love or something. And it's like, oh shit, that felt good to like let out. So that's kind of how I got to the project, was just those moments and then just stacking them together over a couple years, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so did you have, when you were starting out this EP, did you have like a direction, like a sound or like a narrative, or were you just kind of living life and just taking the inspiration from that?
Yeah, it was pretty much just taking inspiration from that, like making plenty of songs that I'm like, I will never do anything with this. Like, this is ass. And then it's like 5 of those, and then you get one song where you're like, holy shit, like, this is it. It's kind of that like eureka moment, like when you're in a lab and like the chemicals like explode. You're like, oh shit. So it's kind of just like sifting through those, like that haystack to find those needles. And then it's like over time, you kind of listen to all of them and you're like, oh, these songs would work together, you know? So that's kind of what happened for me. And it actually came at a time like during like COVID and shit where like no one was going out. It was just a lot of like very introverted times where I wasn't sure what to do. So it was
it's
like
a good time to reflect, right?
Yeah, so it was just like I might as well like do something productive with this time. If I can't go out, I might as well stay in and do something productive. So that was just hone the craft. I remember I was in a time where I was like trying to stop smoking as much weed, so I'd be having like more vivid dreams.
Right.
And so I would like use that dream to write a song. And that's how I came up with Tornadoes.
Yeah, those tea breaks are crazy though.
Exactly. So it's like reflecting on that shit and then like making a song out of it instead of like just acting like it's something happening to you.
How's the experience been? You know, you record a lot of that out in LA, right?
Yes, most of it was recorded in LA, yeah.
How was that experience?
It was great, man. It's just a lot of, like I said earlier, kind of experimenting. So figuring out how to record on my own. And then like once you do that by yourself, you just kind of figure out like your own sonic style. Like, oh, I like this, how this sounds on my voice. You know what I mean? So, and then once you tap into those things, it kind of guides your creativity.
Pretty much it's finding your sonic presence, right? And
Sonic presence, exactly. That's a great way to put it.
And then so you figure that out first, your sound, and then that's when the substance come in, like the writing and all of the material.
Exactly. Like a lot of times, like my lyrics will come after like my melodies. You know, like I won't know exactly what I want to say, but I kind of know how I'm feeling. So I'll like sing a melody, because like a melody is just pretty much like an emotion. You know what I mean? So I get a cadence, a little melody going, and then I'm like, okay, well, what the fuck am I trying to say? Because sometimes it's like, man, I don't know what the fuck to do. Like, I might as well just go outside and like do some shit or go call my friend and go smoke some weed or something. But it's like, let me sit here and let it come to me. So that's something I learned too, is patience. And like I was talking about COVID, like that wasn't always an option, was going somewhere. So it kind of like instilled that, like, this is all I have right here, right now in this room. So, but once I realized that, then I was like, those moments of like impatience, I was like, let me just sit here and let it come. And then it's just like, oh shit, now I have all these songs that work together that are kind of telling a complete story and that kind of make up the identity that people will be hearing when they like hear the music, you know, for better or for worse, you know what I mean? It's just like having that strength, that confidence in whatever you come up with, and knowing some people are going to like it, some people aren't. But either way, you just got to fucking put that shit out there, you know?
All right, so we talked about the EP a little bit, right? I want to get to know the persona you were talking about, right? Mm-hmm. Steiner. So since, you know, let's bring it all the way back. Like, what got you into making music? How did you get into making music? And, you know, when did you discover, like, this is something you wanted to pursue?
So I come from like a very musical family. Like, my grandpa was a drummer. He was on like the radio when he was like 8 years old. And then his son was also a drummer. So like I pretty much grew up in a household where like my uncle had like little drumsticks in my hands and things like that. So it was always just kind of around the family. And then as I grew older, I had like just neighborhood friends who had like-mindedness. They would like play guitar, and then we just like made a band, right? And so started playing cover songs, Nirvana, things like that. And then we just started making original shit. So it was just kind of like a very organic way of playing music that existed, and then starting to branch into creating your own. And then like I kind of went off to college, and that thing wasn't something that's like felt like a viable career path anymore, you know? It was like I went to school for finance and marketing at the University of Alabama. And then after like, I think
Roll Tide.
Roll damn Tide, fuck yeah. But yeah, after a couple years in college, you know, I was like doing the school stuff. I'm like, man, I don't know what the fuck I want to do. And like there's a lot of party scenes where we'd have like, you know, artists from all over like come to our house and perform and things like that. And it was just like I came from being like a consumer of the music and the party scene to being like, man, I want to be on the fucking stage, like creating. Kind of just like a coming of age moment where I wanted to just pursue something that I cared about, you know? So I was like, all right, let me try that. So then me and my roommate, we like split all this like Scarlett, you know, the cheap ass like Scarlett audio equipment, got our little interface, like the shitty ass little mic. Yeah, fucking, yeah, the Focusrite, not even the 2i, you know? We got the Mackie speakers, like just split the stuff and started like making beats. And then my buddy was like, oh, I know this guy that like makes music. So then it's just like finding other people that are in that same vein of like-mindedness.
Like, who have you been working with, and how's that experience been going?
A lot of the music I make, I kind of like when it's for my artistry, I kind of just like isolate myself and just like let that shit just come through. And then I do a lot of production work where I like to collaborate, which is like different musicians, like keyboard, guitar. So that's kind of the place when like the instrumentals come to fruition, is like when you're just surrounding yourself with people with all these different skill sets. And then just like other collaborations, like I've worked with like Kodak Black. I mean, we made a loop that turned into a beat that made it to his studio, and he's like, I love that. Records on it, puts it on an album. You're like, holy shit, like this music thing could just travel all around, but like if people are on the same frequency and they know what the sauce is, like it'll connect, you know what I mean? And obviously like you need to like do the right networking to like make those things happen. It's not just all luck, right? But it's like there's a certain level of just like faith in the music and like collaborating with your friends and then strategizing, putting out in the world, and shit will happen.
There's a lot of stuff that you have to figure out, not just like how you're going to be an artist and how you're going to present yourself, but like the networking, all of that. Like how did you navigate through that?
So yeah, it definitely took a lot of years, and it's just it's having like a close friend group, you know, like having like the nucleus of like what you're trying to achieve, and then just having the team like around that. Like that, so it's like kind of like a layer of your network. So it's like having the guy that you can like go talk about like whatever each of you guys are individually trying to work on, but like what you know you're working on collectively, and just kind of delegating from there, and then like finding other pieces that have just different skill sets and strengths. You know what I mean? So it's like people have better networking and connections, and then you have like the time to create. So figuring out how to plug those things together definitely relationships, like just being cool with people. You know what I mean? Like obviously not everyone's gonna get along, but just like making things cordial. And then outside of like work, just like showing love to people, whether it's on Instagram, like just like you got to show up every day, and some days are gonna be better than others. But it's like if you just keep that consistent, shit will definitely fall into place.
If there was a pro tip that you could tell people in terms of showing up, in terms of building your team and how to present yourself, how to network, like what would you tell the people and the kids that want to be in our position someday?
In music specifically, you gotta like study the greats. So it's like whether it's like freaking Led Zeppelin, right, or whatever, like you can look at that, or you can look at like a new age rapper like Drake. Like look at what they're doing that like made them successful, and don't be ignorant of it. You know what I mean? So it's like studying the greats and then practicing too. You just gotta freaking practice so much, man. Like for me, that practice took form of like recording myself. You know what I mean? So like sitting there, learning how to record, learning how to cut shit, learning how to affect my vocals. Like that was kind of my practice for like 2 or 3 years. Like the 10,000 hour rule type thing. So it's like having that like delegated time every day to like put those 3 hours in a day towards whatever it is. You know what I mean? Whether
to
it's
master your craft, right?
Exactly. So that like, so by the time you do it, when you do it in a room where it matters, like you don't have to worry about it. Like you're good to go.
I think adaptability too, like you touching on like hopping into a studio, with different minds in there. Everyone's got a different creative process, right?
Exactly.
Like especially recording vocals, some want dry, some want wet.
Yeah.
And some come into the studio with no lyrics written, and some people come with a whole book, you know, and
literally.
like being able to be adaptable in that environment and be able to pivot and still achieve the mission, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And like finding that team, like you were saying, like that's down. Because I don't know about you, but I hop into the studio, it could be 2 hours or it could be like a 10-hour session of just like kicking back, talking about philosophy, getting the minds, meeting of the minds.
Yes.
And then being able to lay a record.
And what you said too is like super important, is like the adaptability and things like that in a studio session. That kind of goes back to practice. Like that is a practice in itself.
Absolutely.
It's like when you're going in there like wanting to make something, your first urge is to just go right away. So it kind of takes that practice of like, oh, let me chill out, let me learn the person I'm creating with, let me kind of like learn the room. So yeah, that it all ties together.
I think we've talked about a lot of great things today. Outside of music, I think that people should know you, Steiner, outside of music. So what do you do outside of music?
Yeah, I kind of mentioned it earlier. It's like embrace your differences, like lean into your quirks. So it's like growing as a person. My shit is I love fantasy football. You see me, I'm wearing the Peanut Tillman Bears alternate jersey. Like I grew up playing football, you know what I mean? So like just like sticking to what like gave me joy, so I'll play some fantasy football. I love shredding video games with the boys, like give me a squad of 4 playing some Fortnite, catch some dubs. I'll play some World of Warcraft. I don't watch Netflix as much anymore, but I was kind of into like TV shows. But like I was just like kind of consuming other forms of entertainment, being an entertainer. So like that's my favorite shit. And then working out too. So aside from all that kind of like consumptive shit, definitely working out. I got to do that. You know
Absolutely.
what I mean? Got to hit the gym. If you don't want to go to the gym.
That's slept on, major.
Well, major, bro. If you're like, oh, I can't go to the gym, it's 5 miles away. Throw on a pair of gym shoes and run around your block. Like, you're good. Like, that might be a half mile, but it's better than nothing. So I love doing that because that helps me create too. And then it helps me just step away from the creativity. I love golf. Recently, I've been avidly golfing. I fucking love food.
That's a good one, man. I appreciate you coming out. I appreciate you bringing the team, the guys.
Yeah, dude.
And we're just happy to have you, man. Chicago misses you. We rooting you on out in LA and stuff. So.
I bring Chicago everywhere I go, man.
Yes,
right
sir.
Here, the Cubs, Bears.
Yep.
Man.
Yes, sir.
Well, cheers, brother.
And that's a wrap.